everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Stitch Sessions. We are starting yet again another brand new month, and for those of you that follow along regularly with us, you know that that means we are going to talk about the Gift of Crochet for this month. And for the month of October, we are going to talk about how to make this really lovely and super simple all-around wreath. And I call this the all-around wreath because it's really customizable to the different seasons of the year. So that's why I chose this neutral color here. And many of you may remember these guys from our last tutorial. And I'll put a link in the description box down below if you haven't checked out our little pumpkin decor tutorials. But this is a great project for home decor, and you can switch these little embellishments out for Christmas, for Easter, for Valentine's Day. So it's really customizable to different times of the year and very versatile. And you're going to be amazed at how quick and easy this project is. So let's just get to it. Okay, here we go. These are the supplies you're going to need for your all-around wreath. I am using for this project the Loops and Threads Chunky Luxe Big, and I'm actually really excited to dive into this. I've never used this yarn before. So you will get 32 yards in a skein or 300 grams, and they are calling for a 19 millimeter hook for this project. And I have decided that I am going to go with my 16 millimeter hook. If you can see that right there. Okay. So it's also known as a Q or a size 16. Yeah. It's a fairly large hook compared to some of the ones we usually use, which is I usually use anywhere between a 5 up to a 6.5 on average. So this being a 16 is quite large. So, and I've chosen to go with that because I actually want the work to sit just a little bit snugger than what they're suggesting here. You're definitely going to need a pair of scissors, and you will also need a wreath frame. And you can find these at any of your local craft stores. I picked this one up at Michael's. And this one is the 10-inch frame, which is 10 inches in diameter. You can make them bigger if you like, but this is the size I got, and this is the size I want to use. So here we go. So we are going to begin by making a slip knot. So just pulled out quite a bit of the yarn to get me started. And you're going to create the slip knot however you usually do with slightly smaller yarn. Because it's a larger yarn, I'm just using my fingers here. So we've created a slip knot like that. If you're used to using your hook, just imagine that it's just a thinner yarn, and you can use your hook to pull through, just like that, and pull up, and you've got your slip knot. Okay. So, and then you just want to keep it a little bit snug and relaxed. Now, this is going to be a little awkward when you first start out because we're essentially crocheting around an item, okay? So I am going to work with my front facing me. So if I turn the wreath this way, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but there's just a little bit of a roundedness, which is essentially the top or the front of the frame. So that's what I'm going to work with facing me. So having said that, I'm just going to turn that under, or over I should say, and I want my working yarn to be behind my work. So because this, sorry guys, I know this sounds confusing. So this is my front. I want to make sure that I'm always working with my yarn coming from behind it. Okay, so I'm just turning it this way so that I can see. So I'm going to place my slip knot anywhere along there, and I'm just holding them together. And what I want to do is I just want to reach from behind or through the hole to pull up a loop. Okay, so this is just a little bit awkward with the camera and everything. All right, so I've got my slip knot sitting on top of the frame wherever I want to start. And I'm going to start off by feeding my yarn from the back up through the center, and that would be my first loop. I'm going to place that over my hook. Hopefully you can see that there. And then I will pick up my yarn from the back. I'll yarn over. We're essentially making a single crochet here. And then I'm going to pull through both loops. Okay, so you have something like this. This is probably the trickiest part of the whole thing, just to get it initially secured. So now we're going to continue. We're going to do the same thing. So these are essentially single crochets we are working around the frame. So you will pull from inside, from behind, and then up through the inside. You want to yarn over in front, right? And then you're going to pull it up from the back, yarn over, and then you're going to pull through both loops. And you just need to help it along there, okay? And you can see it starting to take shape on the frame. Okay, so we're going to do this again. And so if I were to lay this down this way, our yarn is behind us. So the reason why we're going in through the center there, it's as if you were able to go down into your stitch with your hook, just like you would with a regular single crochet. But in our case, we're working into the space of the ring. But see how I can't really reach it with my hook? So I'm just going to help it through. I'm going to feed it through and yarn over the hook there where needed. But see, the tail continues on here. So then I will just make sure that I pull it up so it meets the top. And then I'll come from behind and yarn over to pull through both loops. So again, it is a bit awkward, but your end result's going to be so good. So you can see already that along the top, our loops are forming for our single crochets. This is basically it, guys. You're going to do this all the way around until you've filled up your wreath. So I'm going to try and do a few more here, just hopefully it'll kind of help give you the gist of it. So I'm always going to reach in through the center, pulling up to loop over my hook. That's what's going to help me bring that up. Then I will reach from behind and loop it over the hook one more time. And it's that loop that I'm going to pull through the other two. And the thing that you may find challenging here is consistency of your tension, right? Because we're still trying to figure out where to put things. But just take your time, go nice and easy, and you should be getting something that looks like that. Super cool. So now I would recommend maybe just kind of, as you move along, just snug them together because you want something that's going to look a little bit more cushy. I really want to try my best not to have the wreath actually showing through. See that? So I'm going to try my best to fill as many stitches through here as I can, but still trying to keep the look fairly uniform. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a whole bunch more, and then I'll come back and check in with you guys to see how you're coming along. All right, so I've done a chunk here, so you should be able to see now the wreath is taking shape. Now, I will say one of the probably the main challenge of doing a project like this is just to keep a consistency and keep the tension even. So like you can see over here, I was a little bit looser in the stitch in the beginning, so I'm probably just going to adjust that somewhere along the line. So, but what I'm trying to do is as I go, I try to stop and kind of just even things out. I don't want any of the stitches to buckle or kind of overlap too much, even though I am kind of squishing them a little bit more snugly. And then, let me just take that out. So just make sure that the final stitches face more towards my front. So it's going to give it that pretty little braided effect. I so love how this is coming out. So you're going to have something that looks like that. And then when I look on the back, that's what the back of your stitches looks like. Okay, so this is pretty much it for the whole project. This is how we form our wreath. So if you are uncertain, just pause, go back and watch it nice and slowly. And remember, repetition is the key and we don't want to rush. But this project is so cool. I think you're really going to enjoy working on it. So let me just do another couple right here just to remind you, you're always going in through the center, you're pulling up your yarn, and see, I already try and kind of maintain an equal level of tension, so I'm not kind of just being loosey-goosey like this, see that? So I'm just giving it a nice even tension to yarn over here so that it's sitting nice and evenly here, and then I just loop it behind. And then from behind, I pick it up to yarn over again. And it's at this point, see, I'm just holding it with a bit of tone. And then I'll pull it through, whoops, pull it through that loop. And then I'll pull it through the final loop. Okay? Your basic single crochet technique. So I reach in through the center of the ring, I pull it up to yarn over, hold it there. Then I'll reach through from behind to yarn over again. And then I pull through both loops. And I try my best to keep the tone or tension as even as possible. And then sometimes I just pull it there. And then, you know, I'm just kind of snuggling them one next to each other as I go. It's much easier to do this every 3 to 5 stitches as opposed to waiting till the end. So you're off to the races, guys. I will see you once we get closer to finishing it. And here we go, guys. Here is the whole wreath. So as you can see, it's nice and snug. And so what I'm doing now is just making sure that I push all the stitches forward so that they actually show towards the front of the wreath. So you get that beautiful braided effect. And that is the back, which actually I kind of like the look on the back as well. So in a way, this project could easily be reversible depending on the look you're going for. So we kept this a neutral color, like I said before, because we're calling it the all-around wreath. We can use this for any time of year. And in a second, I'm going to show you what I plan on doing with mine. But I just wanted to take you through how we're going to end off. So you can see here that I've come to the end. So this is where we first started. And now I've just done the last couple of stitches there. And I'm happy that it sits fairly snugly in there. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to leave a bit of a tail and I'm going to cut my yarn. There we go. And actually we still had some left over. So I actually am coming up with a couple of ideas I might be able to do with this leftovers. So stay tuned. Okay, so for now we've got this tail and we've got this loop here. I like to always do something I call the seamless join. I've seen it done in many other crochet blogs and places like that. I'm not actually sure if they call it the seamless join. It's an invisible join, something like that. So what happens is we're just going to actually continue to pull this loop all the way out. And I don't always use this method, but most of the time when I'm doing anything in the round, I tend to do it because it's just going to give you this really nice finish here. Okay, and you've got that is the end there of the first one. I'm just trying to find an angle where you guys will be able to see and I can work. So we want to take this end now that we've pulled through. We want to feed it through the first stitch over here. Okay, so this is a smaller hook I'm using, by the way. It is 11.5 millimeters, and it's just going to make it easier for me to go in through my stitches here. On that note, I have seen some people do projects like this where they would continue for another round or two. And you can certainly do that. It all depends on the look that you're going for. But again, we're just keeping this one super simple with one round. So like I said, you're going to insert into that one just under the stitch here. It may be a little funky just because because of the material of the yarn. Yeah, it's really sticking. Okay, there we go. So I've put my hook through, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that end and I'm going to feed it through to come up through the front. Nice and gentle. This is just a little bit of a sticky yarn, okay? So I'm just going to use my hand here. I don't want it to be too tight. Okay, just leave it nice and snug. For now, I'm just leaving this tail to the back. We'll deal with that after. Then what I'm going to do, see what's happening? When I fold it over, it actually looks like one of the regular stitches. And so exactly what I want to do here, let me just turn this around here, is I'm going to take this and actually feed it back into where it came out of, okay? But I want to make sure that I go through the back. So now I'm going to take this hook here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to get a slightly smaller hook. Okay, this is a 9 millimeter. I think it's just, this needs a little bit of a thinner hook to go in through these. So we're going in through the back, just at that back loop, okay, right there. And I'm just doing that so that we can hook this piece and feed it through there. Gentle, you don't want to create a pull in any of the other stitches. There we go. And then I'm just going to use my fingers to pull it through. Just keeping it relaxed, not too tight. So now, when I do that, see how it actually looks like it's just a stitch going into each other? So it really creates this cool little seamless look, okay? Just going to pull that in a bit snugger there so that it sits nicely. And you just have to play with it and fiddle with it till you feel like it looks uniform. Oh yeah, I'm happy with that, how it came out. Now, the only thing is, you'll notice here, see this one's kind of loose? This was at the very beginning. Remember when I said you got to really play with your gauge because this will happen. You have one stitch that's kind of sitting looser than the others. I'm not too concerned about it because again, I am going to dress up this wreath with a couple of little accessories and appliques. So for now, you fed this through the back. And now I would proceed to just feed this maybe under and behind these other stitches here. Now, unfortunately, my darning needle is not big enough to take this in. So I'm just going to try as gently as I can. Using my fingers, what I want to try and do is hide this short tail here, which is not so short, in behind or underneath these stitches here. You want to be careful it doesn't push out through the front, and you also don't want to overly stretch your stitches, just like that. Okay, so I'm trying to kind of blend it in. I actually don't want to, sometimes we would knot it, but because I like the uniformity of the back and I want the option of being able to have the back facing front as well. I really am going to be a little bit more diligent about trying to hide this inside through here, okay? And in fact, I didn't need a tail this long, but I just wanted to be on the safe side. So I am going to continue to weave this in, hide it in the back. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Now this one actually had the slip knot here, so I'm just going to try really nice and subtly to just press it against there and hide it starting through here and this one here, just to get it going. Oh, there we go. And then, so I like to do one in one direction and one another direction, and then eventually that will get blended in there. So when you turn it over, you're going to have something, see on the front, really essentially you wouldn't be able to tell that that's where the join is. It just looks like larger stitches. Okay, so this is our all-around wreath, and perhaps you guys might recognize this little guy here. Remember our pumpkin pin cushion? Well, this is the project that I was going to use it for. So I am going to busy myself adding the final touches to my all-around wreath, and then we will be good to go. So I hope you've had fun making this project. It is really quick, considering we had to use an extra material to crochet around. It's super sweet. It can go in any time of year, any theme, and really works well with all kinds of decor. So this has been really fun for me because I love discovering different ways to use crochet and how we can incorporate them into different parts of our lives other than just the typical clothing garments, which I do love doing, but it's always nice to explore different options. So if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. If you're liking these tutorials, press that subscribe button so you'll never miss whenever we upload a new stitch session conversation or a new tutorial. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for coming along. Have a wonderful day. Happy crocheting and take care.